Happy Epiphany to you. In honor of today, we must have this song. We three kings of Orient tall, bearing gifts we traverse afar, field and fountain, moor and mountain, following yonder star. Oh, star of wonder, star of light, star with royal beauty bright, westward leading, still proceeding, guide us to thy perfect light. What did they see in that star? Star of wonder, star of light, star that compelled them to leave their homes and travel for how many weeks or months to the foreign town of Bethlehem. And upon arriving there, what did they see? Did that peasant child look anything at all like the king they had journeyed so far to find? What did they see in Jesus? Whatever they saw, we are told that they were overwhelmed with joy and they knelt down and paid him homage. The stars had aligned with their prophecies, and in this little boy, they saw a rightful king, maybe even a righteous king, sent by God to lead the Jews into a glorious future. How beautiful was this star child, seen through the wise and wondering eyes of the magi. But not everyone saw him this way. When King Herod the Great heard these magi calling some rat from Bethlehem king of the Jews, all he saw was a threat, for he, Herod, was already king of the Jews. News of a newborn king brought him no joy, only dread, as he fell into a jealous rage. For Herod the Great was no great fan of children, particularly children who threatened his position as king. The running joke in those days was that it was better to be a pig in Herod's court than to be his son, for the Jewish dietary laws kept pigs safe from the butcher's knife. But Herod had been known to have his own sons killed for looking too longingly at his throne. His crown meant more to him than the heads of his own children. What did he care then about the children of Bethlehem? He would have them all destroyed at the mere rumor that one of them might be a threat to his place on the throne. Reading the second chapter of Matthew's Gospel is like seeing Jesus through a pair of bifocals. He looks different as we shift our gaze. Looking up like the magi who saw his destiny written in the stars, we see a king to be honored and adored, but from King Herod's perspective, looking down, which is how he looked at everyone who was beneath him in rank, Jesus was a threat. Herod the Great knew that the baby of Bethlehem would present a challenge to his royal authority, and if not to him during his lifetime, then to his eventual successor. And Herod was right. That's why his son, Herod Antipas, would eventually conspire with the religious authorities to have the grown-up Jesus killed. His teachings were too revolutionary, too empowering to the people, to the poor. It made the king uncomfortable, with good reason. Anyone with wealth or status should feel uncomfortable seeing Jesus for what he was. And I think that's why baby Jesus is so popular. Because as long as you're not King Herod, baby Jesus is no threat. As long as he stays put, away in a manger, asleep on the hay, wrapped in swaddling clothes, he is safe. We can put him on our mantle and feel pretty good about him. The perfect baby, no crying he makes. We love our baby Jesus. We like to remember him this way because that is how we were taught to see him as children. Baby Jesus, maybe surrounded by a menagerie of friendly farm animals. It's the perfect story for kids. God with us in the form of a fragile baby. Children learn to love Jesus like this as one of them. That is our first impression of Jesus. And for some of us, it is our last, for we may stop really seeing him after this. He might stay forever baby Jesus in our hearts. And if he has grown up, we might conveniently reduce that version of Jesus to a symbol. Two simple lines, one vertical and one horizontal. If he has outgrown the cradle, then let us continue him on a cross, no longer a threat to anyone. What would we see, though, if we really looked at Jesus, not with childish naivete, but with mature curiosity? What if we looked at Jesus as someone who could show us how to live in accordance with God's will? If we could see Jesus that way, as the embodiment of God with us, divine wisdom revealed in word and deed, we would see a more complete picture than these two visions from Matthew's 2nd chapter. Rather than remaining starstruck like the bedazzled magi on their knees, rather than seeing him as a threat to our comfortable lives or status like Herod, we might see Jesus as the best possible version of humanity, a model citizen for the kingdom of God, which we have yet to finish building here on earth. We might see Jesus not as our personal gift from God, thank you very much, but as our collective guide to being God's gift to the world, his life a perfect example of how to be a blessing. As we move through this season of Epiphany, a season of seeing what God would reveal to us, let us learn to see Jesus and to see ourselves not as his greatest fans, but as his disciples, living lives that reflect what we see in him. Thanks be to God for the ability to see. May you be blessed by this message.